Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. One of the oldest and best, in my opinion, radio programs is Desert Island Discs. It's a BBC program. It's been running since the 1940s, I think. And every week they invite a guest and they ask him or her, if you were stuck on a desert island, what tracks of music would you choose to have with you? It's a bit of a crazy question. They should really ask, if you know you're going to be stuck on a desert island, what tracks would you take with you? I think they're allowed to choose 10 and one book. They've interviewed some amazing people. If you go to the BBC website, you can find lots of information about who they've interviewed, and you can hear them all as well. They've done Margaret Thatcher, David Beckham, old and new people. It's quite an amazing show. So they ask the question, what 10 tracks would you take with you to a desert island, and what book? And it got me thinking, well, what tracks would I take? And then I thought, well, I couldn't just take tracks. I'd need to have whole albums. Yeah, well, one of them would be Bridge of Spies. That's an album, Bridge of Spies by T'Pau. T-P-A-U is the name. Wonderful album. It's got the song on there, China in Your Hand, a beautiful song. If you ever see the video clip for that, they're dropping china onto the floor. By the way, I don't mean China the country. I'm talking about bone china, the type of porcelain that we have. By the way, we often use the word China in the UK to talk about our best plates. Oh, my family's coming for dinner. Let's use the best china, for example. Bone china. So china in your hand means you're holding something so delicate that you have to be very careful. And of course, the song is all about a couple breaking up, very sad. And she's comparing her relationship like a piece of china. She says, don't push too hard. Your dreams are only china in your hands. Very interesting. Yeah, that was T'Pau. The lead singer there was Carol Decker. She's still around. I saw her on TV a few months ago. I think she was running a pub until recently. Anyway, that's my first album. My second album would be by Atmaramadasa. Atmaramadasa, I don't know much about him because he's not someone who's incredibly commercial for selling records, but he's a member of the Hare Krishna movement. And his album is called Sri Siksastakam. Apologies to any Indians who may be upset by my pronunciation. Sri Siksastakam at Maramadasa. Yeah, his music is wonderful. That album is so relaxing. You know, he has one of those haunting voices that kind of take you to a higher place. So I'd need to have his album as well. Lovely, lovely singer. I must actually check out what he's doing these days because, he really is a very good singer. So that's that album. Oh, Lena Martell. She's a very old Scottish lady, but she did some beautiful songs in the 70s and 80s. I would need to have her back catalogue with me as well. Need to have her back catalogue with me, yeah. So you can find her on YouTube. Oh, she does some lovely songs, all about yearning and wanting. Oh, beautiful. So her back catalogue. About the book, I'm not sure. That's another difficult question because depending on my mood, I might want to read some things and other days. But what book would sustain me if I was stuck on a desert island? To be honest, I'm not sure about that. I'd need to think more about that one, I think. Possibly The Infinite Way by Joe Goldsmith, which is one of these self-help kind of books. I would have said Feel the Fear, but do it anyway, but I don't think there's much things to be afraid of on a desert island. Although you never know. You never know what's lying behind the bush. So, yeah, I think those would be my main ones, I think. Other tracks, I can't really think of any right now. Uh, but one thing I wouldn't be taking is Robert Burns' poetry. Did you know when Scottish people go abroad or when they ever leave anywhere, they always go to buy a copy of Robert Burns' poetry. If ever you've read any biographies of Scottish people, especially in the 19th century, they always carried with them a Bible and a copy of Robert Burns' poetry. Oh, I hated Robert Burns' poetry. Written in Old Scots. I mean, what use is that to anybody? Even I have trouble reading that. I think it's something the older people loved, so I wouldn't appreciate that very much. But I think maybe I would choose another poet like John Clare or William Wordsworth. They wrote, at least in English. So I probably would try to find one of those for the book. But tracks of music, you see, I love different tracks, but I'm not a big fan of albums. I think maybe I'd want the back catalogue of the pop group Heart as well. That was two sisters, Anne and Nancy Wilson. When I was a boy, I had two hamsters, and I called them Anne and Nancy after Anne and Nancy Wilson. Yeah, I need to have the Brigade album. Their older stuff wasn't very good, but the stuff in the 80s was very good. So their album Brigade, and about my hamsters, well, one of them died, and it was Anne. But because she was the lead singer in Heart, I very quickly renamed Nancy Anne. Because I didn't want Anne to die. So they would be quite good. Yeah, the album called Brigade, their greatest hits, that would be nice. Maybe some Irish folk music, because it's very relaxing. But if I'm stuck on a desert, maybe some calypso, some Spanish pop as well, make me feel at home in that hot temperature. It depends where the island is, really. I mean, if it's just off the coast of Australia, maybe I would be better with some Maui music or some Aborigine. But some Latin beats would be nice, wouldn't it? Dutch Schlager. Oh, God. I'd need to have some Dutch Schlager music with me as well, especially for the cold nights. You know, Dutch Schlager is the same as German Schlager music. It's like traditional music that sounds kind of pop. I'd have to have that with me. And, some Bollywood soundtracks. Yeah, I forgot about those. The more I think about it, the more I would want some Bollywood soundtracks as well. Maybe the soundtrack from Dil To Pagale. That would be... Dil To Pagale. Do you remember that Bollywood movie, Dil To Pagale? That was a lovely movie. My Heart Is Crazy, is it? Or The Heart Is Crazy? Dil To Pagale, Dil To Vana Hai. Oh, I'd need to have that. Do a little dance on the island. What else would I take with me? Well, we're kind of wandering into non-English titles here, but the back catalogue of Patrick Bruel would be good as well. He's a good singer. He did at least one album that I loved called... I don't know the French name of the album, but he sang it in Spanish as well. In Spanish, the album name was Plaza de los Héroes. So in French, I don't know. I think the song that I loved by Patrick Bruel was, in Spanish, Romper la voz, to break the voice. In French, it was called Casse la voix. You probably find the YouTube clip if you look under Casa Lavoie to break the voice. That video clip is so powerful. He has one of those typically French voices where he seems to be shouting at everyone. Casa Lavoie! You know the way the stereotype about French people is that they get very emotional, don't they? And it's a song dedicated to Eva Peron, which is maybe why he sang it in Spanish. Confirms to me that creative people, we are all a little bit strange, I think. So, Casa Lavoie, the album, I don't know what it's called, Plaza de los Héroes in Spanish. Very good album. I would need to have that as well. I need to have some Spanish stuff in there, but I won't talk about that right now. Elton John's back catalogue would be quite nice as well, if I could have that for the island. Looks like the island is going to be full of me and music. I hope they have something to play it on, whether that's a CD player or a record player. If I'm going to have all this music... wait a minute, the soundtrack from Fame. Do you remember Fame? A TV show? I need to have the soundtrack from Fame as well, or at least Glee. Yeah. Driving down the boulevard. I can't remember who sang that. It was from Glee, wasn't it? Bonnie Tyler. I'd need to have her with me as well. Oh, Boney M. Yes, Boney M's entire back catalogue, including Rivers of Babylon, Ma Baker, Rasputin, Brown Girl in the Ring. Oh yeah. In fact, I wouldn't mind if Boney M could come to the island and do performances for me. That would be good. Yeah, so Boney M is another one I'd need to have. And that's it, I think. So that's my question for today. If you were stuck on a desert island, what music would you need to have with you? Feel free to leave it in the comments on italki if you're listening to this. I'd love to hear about your musical tastes, and I wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you. Goodbye.